Good morning. My name is Stuart Herman, and I'm here to tell you about our solar house. This is in South Minneapolis. It's an ordinary house on an ordinary lot in a chilly city, and we think it's special. The reason it's special is that it's not simply a solar house, but it is a net zero house. That is, it's a house that produces as much energy as it uses, even though it's on a pretty small lot and in a chilly northern city. All right, so what is net zero? Here, let me just show you what I mean. There it is, right? Net zero. The concept has been emerging recently as a way to really move sustainably into the future, and which is what my wife and I tried to do when we retired 7 years ago. Now, our house, when I say our house is net zero, let me explain why. We have we produce about 16,000 kilowatt hours a year of electricity, and we use about 12,000. So we're actually net positive. It means we produce more energy than we use. Now, how can we do that on this little house? Well, it's not so little. Actually, it's about 3,000 square feet. There are four components to having a net zero house. First, and I'll start off with the most obvious, well, solar, to provide the electricity to run the system. Now, the house used to have natural gas, but we cut that out, we cut the line, and we're totally dependent on electricity for our heating and cooling. And that's why the solar is so important. But we have to have the heat that drives the system, that circulates in the house, and where that comes from is from geothermal wells. You see, in this fairly small backyard, it's only about 20 by 20 feet, we have 4 geothermal wells. They go to, each one of them goes down about 250 feet. They're spaced about 10 feet apart, and they produce about 5 tons of heating. Now, but of course we have summers and we need cooling too. Well, as it turns out, geothermal energy is more efficient at cooling than it is at heating. So we have ample heating and cooling. As I said, it's about 5 tons of capacity in the system. All right, now these are the first 2 of the 4 elements of a net zero house. The next 2 are probably more important, especially in this climate, but they're a little harder to see. Oh, I should say about the geothermal, everything's below the frost line. We never see it, we never touch it. The headers from the geothermal wells run about 5 feet below ground into the house, so there's really literally nothing to see. Okay, the next element is, the third element is insulation, critically important in this area. And what you can see here, it looks like a sun porch, but it's not a sun porch. It is a sunroom. It is a 4-season room, fully insulated, that keeps the heat in, keeps the sunlight out. These windows have 3 layers of glass in them, and they're specially coated to be seasonally appropriate in terms of letting sun in or keeping it out. All right, then the fourth element that's critically important, that is also pretty invisible, is the sealant. You have to have a vapor barrier to control the flow of moisture through the walls of the house. And we actually have 2 in this house, and I'll show them to you in a minute when we go inside. So now here's the side of the house. What you can see here is that in order to make this house net zero, you want to conserve energy. One of the things we did was to shrink the size of the windows. We don't particularly enjoy the view to the left here, so what we have done is shrink the windows and thus keep in more energy. All right, let me move around to the front of the house. Here it is. Notice the design. We've tried to keep in the style of the neighborhood, even though the house was submitted to a total gut rehab. The house is over 100 years old, and we simply took it apart and put it back together again in a responsible, environmentally sustainable way. All right, so here I'm going to give you a sense of what we did. Here's the house as it originally was. It was frankly a fixer-upper. And so what we did was tear everything off and tear everything out inside to make a new baseline for putting the insulation in. Then when we did that, first we had to, having torn off all the siding, we had to put down a vapor barrier. You can see it here, this 3M stuff. But we had to build out the window boxes. And I'll show you why over here. You see how wide these windowsills are. That's because we added insulation to the house on the outside. We didn't have to remove the interior walls for that purpose. So we built out these window boxes to be able to accommodate the insulation. And here it is what it was like in the middle of winter, putting on the insulation, 4x8 blocks of EPS, which is produces less greenhouse gas than XPS. We're trying to be as responsible as we could the whole way. And then over that, layers of plywood, then a second vapor barrier, Tyvek, normal stuff. And then over that, then we put furring strips and siding. The whole point being here is to have something that looks in continuity with the past, yet really is adapted to life in the future. And here on the house, you can see we are certified net zero. We're also certified LEED Platinum. Okay, hope you enjoyed the tour. Thanks very much. Bye.